My name is Hazel, 37 years old, and married to my husband Daniel for the past 7 years. We were together for 3 years before tying the knot. Over the years, I believed I had a complete understanding of his history, including his previous marriage to Ella. Ella and Daniel's marriage had ended due to her infidelities, culminating in her leaving him for another man. Despite this, the divorce proceedings were relatively straightforward, largely because they had no children, and Daniel had even paid more than legally necessary to ensure a clean break. My parents had always shown a fond admiration for Daniel. They praised his work ethic, his kindness towards me, and his overall reliability. They had even contributed significantly to our wedding and helped us with the down payment for our first house. Their support made the recent revelations all the more shocking and painful for me. Last year, I was diagnosed with a chronic illness that required multiple surgeries, and the medical costs were substantial. Despite having insurance, the expenses were overwhelming. I had to take unpaid leave for my job as a teacher, which put a strain on our finances. Daniel, working as a construction foreman, earned a decent salary, but it wasn't enough to cover our mortgage, daily living expenses, and the mounting medical bills. In desperation, I reached out to my well-to-do parents, who owned several successful businesses, hoping they could offer some financial support. Surprisingly, they claimed they were facing financial troubles and could only spare $910. I was puzzled as I knew their businesses were thriving, but I chose not to question them further and gratefully accepted the small amount they offered. To manage the shortfall, I started working a second job as an online teacher as soon as I was well enough. It was exhausting to teach all day and tutor at night, and my recovery suffered as a result. The full extent of the betrayal unfolded accidentally during a conversation with my younger sister last week. She casually mentioned that our parents were financially backing Ella's new business venture, a bakery shop. I was stunned and thought I had misheard her, but she confirmed it and even showed me social media posts of my parents celebrating the grand opening, where they were tagged as angel investors. This revelation was deeply upsetting. While struggling with my own medical bills, my parents had secretly invested $910,000 in the business of my husband's cheating ex-wife. When I confronted them, they dismissed me as mentally unstable. I spent the next few days trying to make sense of their actions and understand why they would so starkly prioritize Ella over their own daughter's health and well-being. This situation left me feeling betrayed on multiple levels, struggling to grasp the reasoning behind my parents' bewildering decision. I've endured countless sleepless nights, wrestling with the notion that I might have missed some clear warning, or perhaps overlooked subtle hints. The shock and anger that gripped me was mirrored in Daniel when I shared the news. Since his divorce from Ella, he had severed all ties with her and was just as baffled as I was that our parents had acted so covertly. Resolved to address this, I chose our regular family dinner, hosted monthly by Daniel and me, as the setting for confrontation, hoping that a face-to-face discussion would make them understand the depth of my hurt. As we all gathered, my parents, my sister, and her husband, I calmly inquired why they had chosen to secretly fund Ella's bakery shop venture. Without hesitation, my mother responded, her words slicing deeper than I anticipated. She expressed pride in supporting Ella, who she claimed still felt like a daughter to them post-divorce. She detailed the strong bond they had formed during Ella's marriage to Daniel and their desire to support her entrepreneurial dream. It was disorienting to hear my own mother speak of Ella as if she were a cherished family member, completely overlooking the pain it caused me. My father then tried to justify their actions, praising Ella's entrepreneurial spirit and robust business plan. He viewed their financial support as a sound investment and even suggested that diverting funds towards my medical bills would have been wasteful. He proposed that I should have better prepared for emergencies and recommended that I consider natural healing methods, like taking bakery shop at Ella's studio, rather than conventional medicine. Feeling numb and betrayed, I couldn't contain my emotions any longer. The pain and frustration I had suppressed erupted as I recounted the struggles I faced trying to recover while working 2 jobs and foregoing treatments due to financial constraints. I felt utterly betrayed that they had chosen to support a woman who had cheated on their son-in-law, leaving me to fend for myself. My mother dismissed my feelings as melodramatic, insisting that Ella had evolved into a resilient businesswoman. She even suggested that my anger stemmed from insecurities related to Daniel's previous marriage. My father echoed her sentiments, asserting their support for Ella was an independent matter and accused me of being childish. At my breaking point, I declared that they were no longer welcome in our home. They left in disbelief, my father muttering about my ingratitude. My sister, who had remained silent, tearfully apologized, acknowledging she hadn't realized the impact their actions would have. Her husband suggested it was time for them to leave as well. After everyone had gone, Daniel and I sat in exhausted silence. He blamed himself, feeling guilty as if he had somehow contributed to the ordeal. I reassured him that the fault lay entirely with our parents. They were the ones who had let us down. We agreed that moving forward, we needed to reassess our boundaries and relationships, that she could use the sessions to connect with Ella more meaningfully, framing it as an opportunity for sisterly bonding. It was clear, though, that their push for her to join the classes wasn't just about health or relationship building. It had more to do with further integrating Ella into our family dynamics at my expense. As these revelations piled up, my sense of betrayal deepened. Yet I also struggled with conflicting emotions. Despite the pain, a part of me wondered if I might have misunderstood their intentions or reacted too hastily. My phone buzzed relentlessly with mixed feedback from relatives. Some accused me of overreacting, while others offered their solidarity, making it clear that they too had noticed the favoritism that Ella received over the years. Feeling overwhelmed, I received a long email from my parents expressing their disappointment in what they described as my immature reaction. They demanded an apology before considering any form of reconciliation. This left me stunned and forced me to reevaluate the entire confrontation. Could it be possible that they genuinely believed they were helping Ella simply out of kindness? The inner turmoil was intense. I felt an urge to clear the air, yet the persistent doubt about their undisclosed motives nagged at me. It seemed every attempt to resolve the situation just unearthed more layers of deceit. In the midst of this, Ella reached out via a message on Facebook. Her tone was ostensibly concerned, yet it came across as condescending. She offered free bakery classes at her shop as a gesture of reconciliation, suggesting it would help with my stress. But knowing that my parents had shared details about my medical issues with her made her offer feel like a mockery rather than a genuine olive branch. The breaking point came when my aunt, my mother's sister, called me. She revealed more about the depth of my parents' relationship with Ella, including them celebrating holidays together and even vacations that they had told me were not possible due to their busy schedules. The revelation that they considered Ella almost as a replacement daughter was devastating. My sister, feeling guilty for her previous silence, confessed that she too was pressured to be closer to Ella under the guise of family support. She decided to distance herself from our parents, sharing her discomfort and the pressure she faced. These back-to-back shocks were illuminating yet painful. They solidified my decision to set boundaries, perhaps even cut contact temporarily, to reflect and decide the future of these relationships. The support from some family members and advice from friends provided a much-needed perspective, showing me I wasn't alone in this confusing ordeal. As I navigate these turbulent waters, the need for self-care and perhaps professional guidance to deal with the familial estrangement becomes evident. The path to healing appears long and uncertain, but these revelations have underscored the importance of protecting my emotional well-being against the manipulations and disappointments stemming from those I once trusted deeply. My sister and I recently discussed how she could use some of her inheritance from our grandparents to support Ella's business expansion. This money was initially intended for my sister's future, not for aiding someone who played a significant part in turning my life upside down. After much reflection, my sister has grown increasingly aware and critical of our parents' actions. She admitted that she always felt an underlying rivalry during our upbringing, but the extent of their recent actions crossed a boundary she hadn't anticipated. She's now committed to distancing herself to reassess her relationship with our parents. Having her support during this time is incredibly meaningful to me. She's one of the few who fully grasps the depth of betrayal I feel. Daniel, too, has been a pillar of support, though it's clear he's wrestling with mixed emotions of anger and guilt. He regrets not being more vocal about Ella's manipulative tendencies during their divorce. He avoided causing trouble back then, knowing my close bond with our parents, but now recognizes that his silence may have allowed them to become even closer to Ella. Daniel is outraged that his past is still negatively impacting us and has even suggested that we might consider relocating to escape the ongoing strain and painful memories of our hometown. Although the idea of moving isn't new, I can see the burden it places on him, feeling as though he has coerced me into this tough situation. I keep reassuring him that he isn't to blame for my parents' decisions, yet it's difficult to watch him struggle with this guilt. To add insult to injury, my parents sent a harsh email this morning, criticizing my supposed immaturity and praising Ella for being more family-oriented because of her efforts to stay connected. They accused me of being envious of Ella's business success and suggested that my recent illness was just a ploy for attention. They denied any wrongdoing, reframed the narrative to make me look unreasonable, and even demanded an apology from me before considering reconciliation. At this point, I doubt that an apology would mend things, and frankly, I'm not sure I want one. I shared their email with my sister, who, after reading it, confirmed that distancing myself was the right choice. This whole ordeal feels surreal, as if I've lost my parents even though they're still around. I've always strived to be the dutiful daughter they wanted, but I'm now realizing they've never truly appreciated me. They've always favored Ella, treating her as the golden child, especially when I needed them the most. For the first time in my life, I feel liberated from trying to meet their expectations, but this newfound freedom comes with a profound sense of loss. As I navigate rebuilding my life, without the support of those who were once considered my family, I find myself uncertain about what the future holds. Despite this, I am committed to focusing on my well-being, nurturing my marriage, and cherishing relationships with those who truly value me. It's painful to let go of what I believed my family was, but this shift may pave the way for forming a more supportive and loving family environment for myself and Daniel. After I decided to distance myself from my parents, their reactions have been deeply troubling. Just 4 days ago, they crossed a boundary I never thought possible by showing up unannounced at my workplace, accompanied by Ella. They seemingly hoped that a public confrontation would coerce me into listening or shame me into compliance. Caught off guard, I was summoned to the office where they, along with Ella, insisted they just wanted to talk. Thankfully, the school's security measures were effective. They were halted at the reception and could not advance without my consent, which I did not give. Later that same day, a more disturbing event occurred. We found out that Ella had been given our new home security code, which we had originally shared only with my parents for emergencies. This breach came to light when our security camera notified us of an attempted unauthorized entry. Watching the footage, I saw Ella trying to enter our home under the pretense of leaving a peace offering. This chilling discovery prompted us to change all our security codes and locks immediately, and we filed a police report to document the incident, though we chose not to press charges at that moment. These incidents led to further revelations when my sister decided to investigate how deep this connection with Ella went. Shockingly, we learned that our parents had been covertly financing Ella's mortgage for the past year. This explained some perplexing financial decisions they had made recently, such as reducing the funds allocated for our wedding and diverting emergency family funds. This insight came to light when my sister uncovered these transactions. Moreover, a mutual friend revealed that my parents have been spreading claims within their social circle that I am mentally unstable. They portrayed Ella as a savior stepping in to support the family during my alleged incapacity. This narrative sheds light on their excessive support for Ella and their dismissive attitude towards my personal struggles, painting a troubling picture of betrayal and manipulation. Hearing a story from a friend that depicted me as helpless and unwell, while casting my parents as loving caregivers simply trying their best, was deeply upsetting. It felt as though they were reshaping my entire life narrative just to justify their own behavior. Amidst this turmoil, the support from my friends, family, and colleagues has been a beacon of hope. My coworkers at the school organized a meal train to ease our burden during this stressful time, and my husband Daniel's colleagues have been incredibly supportive. offering to take on some of his shifts so he can help maintain our home's safety. They've also been brainstorming with us on ways to secure our home further. Meanwhile, my sister and her husband made the tough choice to sever ties with our parents. They are now helping us gather evidence, from unauthorized attempts to enter our home to financial discrepancies and the misleading tales being spread about my mental health. We're documenting everything meticulously in case we need to pursue legal action. A particularly poignant moment occurred recently when a close friend from high school who had reconnected with my parents reached out to me. She relayed concerns about my well-being after my parents described me as unstable. I had to set the record straight, sharing the reality of my struggles. Thankfully, she understood, but the narrative my parents had spun did its damage, showing how far they were willing to go to isolate me from my longtime friends. Given these escalating issues, I consulted a lawyer today about obtaining a restraining order. Although I'm hesitant to take legal steps, the fear of my parents appearing unexpectedly or manipulating others to reach me has made me seriously consider it. It feels overwhelming that it has come to this, but each new incident underscores the necessity of establishing firm legal boundaries for my safety and peace of mind. For now, Daniel and I are taking things one day at a time, keeping our close friends in the loop and supporting each other immensely. Daniel has been my rock, but it's clear this situation is also taxing for him. We've begun to explore counseling options, and he's encouraged me to join a support group for individuals facing similar family estrangements. This might help me navigate my feelings of anger and betrayal and prevent me from doubting myself. This entire ordeal has tested my limits, but the solidarity shown by those around us has reinforced my belief that we can emerge from this ordeal stronger. As for my parents, I'm no longer surprised by their actions, but I'm prepared to stand my ground, keep moving forward, and work towards building a safer and healthier environment. Recently, my sister made a startling discovery. She accessed some financial documents and found that our parents have poured almost $500,000 into funding my cousin Ella's business endeavors over the last 5 years. This was a shock to us. The money wasn't just funneled into her bakery shop, but also into a failed wellness product line and a life coaching certification program Ella attempted to launch. Knowing they invested so heavily in Ella's ventures while neglecting to assist with my medical bills is difficult to digest, though not entirely surprising anymore. Amid these revelations, I've also made some significant personal decisions. After a tough conversation with my doctor, I resigned from my online teaching job. The workload was hindering my recovery. My husband Daniel and I reviewed our finances and, thanks to his recent promotion, which fortunately includes better health benefits, we decided we could manage on his income along with my primary teaching salary. This decision allows me to focus more on healing, which feels absolutely necessary right now. Moreover, we are preparing to move to a new house in a different neighborhood next month. The change is needed. Our current home holds too many memories of strained family interactions that I'd rather leave behind. This move represents a fresh start and an escape from the remnants of a life too entangled with unwelcome familial obligations. The most challenging aspect has been coming to terms with my parents' actions, which reflect deeper issues beyond just favoritism towards Ella. It's become painfully clear that their love and acceptance are conditional, prioritizing their own desires over the genuine needs of their children. Their failure to see me for who I am has left deep emotional scars that might never fully heal. Last night, the extent of their unwillingness to respect our boundaries became starkly apparent. While Daniel and I were out, our neighbor called us in a panic after spotting an unfamiliar car parked outside our house. It was my parents, waiting outside, occasionally approaching our front door. We had no choice but to call the police, who asked them to leave without pressing charges. It was a chilling reminder of their determination to force a confrontation. Today, my sister and I had a heart-wrenching final talk about our parents. She's decided to sever ties with them after they justified their financial support for Ella by undermining my contributions and labeling me a liability. This painful acknowledgement of our parents' skewed perceptions marks a definitive end to hoping for any reconciliation, steering us towards building our futures independently and on healthier terms. I've faced some really tough times recently. I've come to see things more clearly than ever before. The people who I expected to understand and support me during my health struggles sadly didn't show the empathy I needed. Instead, they trivialized my challenges, calling them mere weaknesses, which only deepened my realization that they weren't interested in understanding me at all. Their main goal was to control how others see the situation. Adding to the strain, I found out today from a friend that my parents have been spreading false rumors about my partner, Daniel. They've been unfairly accusing him of exploiting me financially, which is absolutely untrue. Daniel has been nothing but supportive, both emotionally and financially. The idea that my own parents would attempt to tarnish his reputation to isolate me further is heartbreaking. During this ordeal, my true support system has shown its strength. My chosen family, close friends, neighbors, and even colleagues have been incredible. Many have offered practical help, like assisting with our upcoming move, and others have been making sure I'm holding up okay. They remind me daily of what real family is, those who support you unconditionally. My sister and her husband have been particularly supportive, helping to document everything in case we need to take legal action. The weight of this entire situation has really hit me recently. I've spent years striving for my parents' approval, trying to meet their lofty expectations, only to realize that they love an idealized version of me, not the real me. This painful truth has oddly given me a sense of liberation. I'm learning to let go of the need for their validation, which has never truly seen me for who I am. Daniel and I have decided to start counseling to process everything and to further strengthen our bond. While the wounds my parents have inflicted won't heal overnight, we're committed to healing together. I'm also considering joining a support group for individuals dealing with family estrangement because coping with this alone is incredibly tough. To everyone who's been following my journey, I can't thank you enough. Your support has been a beacon during these dark times. This chapter in our lives has been painful, but it has taught us the true meaning of love and family. Moving forward, I'm focusing on healing and surrounding myself with people who genuinely care about me. I'm striving to be the best version of myself, free from the unrealistic expectations of my parents. For anyone else struggling with toxic family dynamics, remember that you deserve love and respect without conditions. It's a tough lesson, but it's one I'm embracing more each day.